Am I real?
Of course you're real. No, you're real.
Ever since I can remember, I've loved storytelling. Growing up in a creative household, I was primed for both consuming and creating media of all kinds that enriched my mind and my soul. But there's a particular kind of media I look for now, a flavor that gives me that little feeling in my stomach like you're being dropped on an elevator or you're on a roller coaster. Things that bend reality, narratively and tonally, and cultivate an environment where your reality will do the same. Whether it's Severance, Videodrome, Petscop, or Persona, these works make you question everything, recontextualize themselves in subsequent watches, and allow for some of the best of magic and mystery in storytelling. Most, if not all of these works, relate themselves to aspects of mental illness as well, and in some cases can be seen as highly allegorical to aspects of trauma, depression, or dissociation. Not like I'm an expert, but I'm certainly a huge fan of things that make me feel like this, and most of my favorite games, films, shows, music, books, and other visual art are all in service of that stomach twinge. But how did I get here? In this video, I want to explore 3 works from different mediums that were formative in my experience with this love of reality-bending media. They all came at a perfect time, one where I was honing and understanding my media literacy skills, and finding things I truly liked on my own for the first time, and a time where I was starting to exhibit symptoms of mental illness without truly understanding what that meant. This was a perfect storm to affix these works into what I feel is good art. Obviously, these aren't the only things that helped me garner this sensibility, but today we're focusing on the Doctor Who 2-parter Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead, the Robert Cormier YA thriller I Am the Cheese, and the weirdest of the bunch, the first installment of the Kingdom Hearts 2 manga. I want to look at each work particularly as artifacts of my memory, my experiences, and creative preferences associated with them, and how they gave me integral ways to understand and communicate my mental illness. I know this is going to be really weird to fans of the Kingdom Hearts games I've still never played, but when I was maybe 7 or 8, I remember picking out a random manga at Barnes & Noble because I like Disney characters and graphic novels, and it turned out to be the first installment of the second set of the Kingdom Hearts manga. Having no context about the game or what came before made me like Roxas, a blank slate, stepping into a mysterious world and learning about it for the first time. And because of that, once Sora showed up halfway through, I wasn't nearly as interested and pretty confused. I remember reading it on summer vacation, away from my friends, apt for this story about a character who's ripped from his friends and the life he thought he had on the last day of summer vacation. And I know a lot of people who see how this fits into the greater plot at hand didn't really like this arc, but there was something really bittersweet and so sad about those pages that spoke to a side of me I barely understood yet, as a kid just starting to see how differently his brain worked from others. This whole concept of having 2 people, the same self but different, and especially the fact that one is more important than the other, one has to cease to exist and reappropriate the other. Something about that feels very true to my burgeoning trans existence, learning to mask and then unmask as an autistic person, and the feeling of being heavily dissociated. I was already training myself to dissociate when I was uncomfortable and couldn't get out of it, and I think I could use this image of one version of yourself trapped in stasis, while the other, not real version of you is out and about on autopilot, not feeling your body, being a passenger in your own body, your own life, with memories or thoughts that aren't yours. Sometimes being suicidal feels like a grand mission. Before I tried to kill myself, I felt like I had to complete a journey to another world, and that's kind of the vibe here. Feeling lost in the wrong world, having to say goodbye to it before you're transported somewhere else, but missing those in that world and the normalcy you had there. We also see Roxas become literally invisible at one point, and that's always imbued me with equal parts yearning and being disturbed at this idea of being a silent observer. Sentient to yourself, but dead to those around you. So much of the content of this would fit perfectly into the liminal spaces, weirdcore internet world I got stuck in during the pandemic. The amount of dialogue that would fit perfectly into some weirdcore post, like, you were never supposed to exist. The other thing I remember identifying while reading it was the weird feeling of nostalgia for a past that doesn't exist. A past that's not yours, or sometimes nostalgia for the moment you're currently in, as if you're experiencing it in a memory. Even as a child, I understood my time as a child, and especially childhood summers, were fleeting, and that those memories would be remembered forever in a way adult memories wouldn't. And I was trying to understand the complex feelings of nostalgia at a young age, especially when you feel more emotionally mature than your peers and don't know how to communicate that. I've spent time feeling invisible to my friends, but I've spent a lot of time being depressed around friends who aren't equipped to deal with that situation, especially at that young of an age. And that's something I can accept now, but was crushing and confusing as a child. Roxas is living out this happy memory even though he'll need to go away soon. He can feel that something's wrong but doesn't know what. Isn't that what most depression and anxiety is? It certainly is for me, and especially so when I was little and couldn't actually describe or name what I was feeling. And I had such a reaction to this because it could, without words. Staying in the literary world, although through this section you'll be seeing footage from the truly god-awful adaptation of the book, we're going to look at the young adult novel I Am the Cheese by Robert Cormier. We apparently read I Am the Cheese in school, but I have little to no recollection of that. Only reading it at bed at night in middle school and just crying and crying and crying. Not even from sadness, but just from an abundance of feeling. In some ways, I think it's the most personal to me of these three. It struck a lot of boxes for me at the time, as I always loved a good child experimentation story back in the day. Stuff like Maximum Ride, Wrinkle in Time, or The Girl Who Could Fly, to name a few. But this was the first time I read something where the reasoning behind it wasn't supernatural. It could happen in the real world, and, while succumbing to a burgeoning interest around things like MKUltra, helped me understand how a person could be broken better, as it was written for my age group in mind. These ideas of time loops caused by memory, not by sci-fi explanations, is something that really affected me. Split between two realities and neither of them are really real at all. It was probably the first work that made me think about how a story can lie to you, that what it presents isn't always real, and that you can make your own decisions to find out how you feel about it. Throughout the story we go between three realities: Adam on his trip, transcripts of Adam talking to a strange man named Brent, and Adam's memory. Sometimes it's confusing which is which, and sometimes it's kinda more than one when Adam is telling Brent about something from his past. As the story goes on, we learn Adam is under care at a facility after the death of his parents. His father, an investigative journalist that was too daring while testifying, has his family placed under witness protection, and that's why Adam's childhood seems so confusing. Not only is the form reality bending, but not knowing the truth about his family makes it seem like he had two realities, two childhoods, where things were the same in some ways but different in others. Like we hear about a Paul Del Monte from Brent, implying he's a relative before Adam realizes that was his birth name pre-witness protection. I love that it seems like Paul Del Monte is a different person at first, so when we really figure out he is Paul, the two realities of his two childhoods start to blur together. While Adam is figuring out what happened in his past, he's also trying to figure out what's happening in the present, where he is and what he's doing there. And this is the only story I'm talking about here where anyone's like gaslit straight up. They hide the truth from Adam and make him seem like he's crazy over and over again. And by the end, he is. Taken by this facility after witness protection agents caused the car crash that took his parents from him. Adam goes on this bike trip over and over again, forced to discuss his past, present, and future with Brent in between. Brent isn't there to help him understand, but to help the facility understand Adam's mental state. How much he remembers about his family, if his father ever shared sensitive information with him about his work, witness protection, and if he's finally realized they were the ones that killed his parents. Each time Adam gets to this realization, his conclusions break his mind, resetting the loop in a way, and he tours the grounds of the facility as if he were biking across New England. While the film gives us an unearned, hopeful ending, the ending in the book is dismal. Confronted with Adam's reality, we hear one last discussion without Adam present, where Brent reveals he thinks Adam should be terminated, like his parent, or kept until his mind obliterates. The reveal of this in the book is chilling. We've been made to believe Adam is on the trip to bring his father a gift, but when he finally finds himself at the conclusion of the trip, he willingly bikes himself into the facility that's already taken so much from him, not knowing they now want to take it all away. Unreliable narrators due to something like the protagonist's ego or biases already made sense to me, but I had never really read something where I couldn't trust that what I was reading was being told to me in a truthful way, not to trust the story itself. And I still don't totally get what happened here even now. What was the present? Was he in a facility the whole time or not? Is he reliving a trip that he once took, or has it always been in his head? If he really did take the trip, were the people he encountered on the way placed there? Is any of this reality really real? But again, similar to Roxas, I just had such an immense empathy for Adam. I could feel that pain and that confusion after having felt his smaller struggles and triumphs. And it literally feels like reality is crashing down around you as you finish the book. I read it again before I went to college and was stunned at how much it still meant to me. Aside from Adam, there are very few other characters, and the only other one his age is Amy. She's the tragic center of normalcy for him, a girl he was starting to get close to before his parents took him on that fateful trip that shut him away from the world. And on his trip, she's the only thing he can really hold on to. Which is made all the more sad by the fact that the problems he was having uncovering things with his family strained what little relationship he had with Amy in the first place. By the end, we learn she hasn't had that number for 3 years, implying he's been stuck in this cycle for that long. But he tries to call Amy over and over on his trip. It's like he's trying to use her to make home real again. I'm an only child who's very close to my parents, and I really treasure the bond we have even when things are hard. And so Adam's love for his family and confusion and desperation the more he knows, or learns he doesn't know, really tugs at my heartstrings. I've always been afraid of the time when I need them, need our unit, that comfort, and it's not there. And the fact that as an only child, I'll be the one left with the memories of them when they're gone. And as someone with a lot of dementia in my family, good thing our fucking last name is Memory, we love a cruel joke, I've always felt a subconscious responsibility to remember and document what others can't. Where do memories go when no one is left to remember them? Or if whoever is can't remember them anymore? No one else experienced this life, this family with me, and so Adam's eventual memory degradation is particularly depressing because his fucked up mind is the only one that can still carry those cozy memories and feelings of home, and every time he takes another trip, they're slowly being wrung out of him. And I'm the Cheese understands the ways our first memories stay with us the most. We talk a lot now about core memories because of Inside Out, as these amazing moments of extreme emotion. But for me at least, my core memories are the tiniest slivers of normal everyday life. Little moments, little sensory experience. And in Adam's case, those small details in the normalcy were what clued him in on some of the things he didn't understand. Not knowing the context of those memories makes them simultaneously more comforting and more insidious. And I think they and Adam's emotional journey as a whole go to show how kids take on the emotions of adults even if they don't have the context. And those feelings, whether good or bad, are what stick, even when our memory is going. And who didn't go through a phase as a kid thinking their family was harboring some dark secret? It's just that for poor Adam, there was one. I skipped around way too much when I first started watching Doctor Who. I was 11, okay? I skipped 9. I'm a bitch. But 10 and Donna were my first companion pair that I really took a liking to. And The Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead 2-parter was one of the first bits of Doctor Who I'd ever seen, so it shaped the rest of the world of Doctor Who for me, and cemented Stephen Moffat's style of single story writing, not as a showrunner, as what will always be the best and the most Doctor Who can be for me. It really encapsulates Moffat's fantastical qualities. He sees the Doctor as a mythical being, a creature from a fable we loved as children, a truly magical thing, and the world of Doctor Who is one that's tailored to details and reveals. Similar to how Harry Potter is actually the form of a mystery series under the guise of fantasy, to me, a good Doctor Who episode sets up a world and a set of rules, and asks you what rules are already being broken. A good Moffat episode gives you all the information you need to make the conclusions that will be revealed later on. Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead are a perfect 2-parter, in that it's one continuous story, but each episode serves a very different purpose, with different iterations of the characters in a new or different place, as well as the power of places that are suspended from time, without time, similar to the, at least internet usage of the term liminal spaces, but to an imaginatively magical extent. Like, I can go to an abandoned place, or be in an empty train station or school at night, and get that weird feeling, but there is still time. And that's one of the cool things about sci-fi, is being able to exist in these places that aren't entirely real, even in the world of the work itself, where time doesn't flow linearly or at all. I like the fact that we come to this episode with the frame of Cal, where the library is this seemingly unreachable magical space. Watching that mystery unfold showed me how much I love mysteries where it's not about who done it, but how done it. that a character's circumstances could be the mystery itself. I had already read conventional mystery stuff by then and liked it, but seeing all of these disparate elements and watching them be tied together in a way that was narratively satisfying but devastating for the characters was intoxicating to watch. Plus, there's a lot of simulation stuff nowadays, but that wasn't as popular when I first watched this, and that idea was really mind-blowing to me. So I really appreciated stories where characters had to grapple with their simulated existence. Moffat understands the power of wonder, and in this episode he's successful at building dread and wonder simultaneously. Like the whole idea of the library being a dedication and world for a dead child to live on gone horribly wrong is so Moffat, and so is that little girl wanting to help the people however she could.
Follow them into her dreams and kept them safe.
And there are a lot of Moffat-isms here. The popularization of the word spoilers, he loves a sad music box song, he always has the doctor make an observation and then ask a leading question.
You know what? This is the biggest library in the universe. So where is everyone? Count the shadows.
1.
Yeah, but what's casting it? Like you said, there are 5 people still alive in this room.
Yes, sir.
Why aren't there 6?
I also love in this episode specifically the plays with computer language. The whole safe versus saved thing, or
What a pleasure it is to see you fully integrated.
Forest of the Dead is edited to mirror Donna's mental state. Time moves like a dream for her and for us. It helps us to understand the narrative information quickly, makes us empathize with Donna, and makes us realize something is very wrong here. A video essay about Squid Game by Yannick Aurul looks at this under the lens of the Kuleshov effect.
The Kuleshov effect is a staple in editing in which the audience subconsciously draws temporal associations between shots that follow one another.
Film has a unique opportunity to play with time, and to get the viewer to decide if the skips are diegetic or not. Obviously here it straddles the line, and that's the point.
Instead of being a diegetic mechanic, it appears in the show's form, mainly through its editing. The audience travels through time rather than the characters.
And the interesting thing that Forest of the Dead does is use this form to bridge the audience's and Donna's perspectives. I've always loved the frame of Donna being a memory care patient. It almost gaslights you into thinking it is in her head at first. And it feels really real, like how Donna goes through what happened in between her memory gaps. It helps her and the audience in equal measure. The episodes of Doctor Who that are the ones where companions are stuck and have to survive somewhere else for long periods of time while the Doctor is journeying to find them in our present are some of my favorites and some of the saddest. The Girl in the Fireplace, The Girl Who Waited, 73 Yards, World Enough in Time, and Turn Left. Poor Donna, she can't catch a fucking break this season. And this coming in a 2-parter is really interesting. You empathize heavily with her because you have no idea what's going on either, until you gradually become more comfortable before it goes wrong. And they bleed these two realities together very nicely. It starts with Cal talking to our TARDIS crew on TV, but in Forest of the Dead it transitions to the TV story about Donna. And when Dr. Moon appears, it's the closest these realities have bled together so far. We also get the Cal sign right outside the facility. I love characters like Dr. Moon that exist in this space where they know they're not fully real, but they have a job to do and do it passionately. What really gets me about this story, though, is Donna becoming a mother. You can feel her unconditional love for her children immediately. Catherine Tate was a mother of a child about this age at the time, and I think that really informs her performance. Her bond with her children feels so real, and it's heartbreaking to see her reconcile with their unreality.
Well, what about the children? The children aren't dead. My children aren't dead.
Your children were never alive.
You don't know you don't have children.
Neither do you.
And watching the children reckon with what's happening themselves isn't just sad, but so disturbing. They approach it with such an innocent acceptance.
Josh and me, we're not real, are we? When you're not here, like we're not here. Even when you close your eyes, we just stop.
This episode so nicely sets up Donna's new reality and breaks it down right in front of her, also giving us a second tragic love story to back up the Doctors and Rivers. It never fails to get me when Lee's stutter stops him from seeing her again. Speaking of that tragic love story, this episode introduces the iconic character of River Song, but it also introduces her seasons-long love affair with the Doctor, that, even though was sometimes written poorly, is still some of my favorite shit put to film and such a delightfully depressing time travel parable. Still, their relationship might not have kept viewers interested if it weren't for this incredible introduction. And the extremity of that creates a dramatic irony we see pay off time and time again. So much is learned in so little time, set up and foreshadowed, seen best in the diaries.
Sorry, you're not allowed to see inside the book. It's against the rules.
What rules?
Your rules.
We see how close they are and what their dynamic is like, and that they often meet out of sync. We hear about adventures that we'll see in the future, like the Byzantium, and set up the sinking diaries trope that's used throughout River's time on the show, as well as the ever-looming and so well pulled off Last Night on Beryllium. Despite the fact that the episode doesn't incorporate a lot of time travel into the main plot, we still get a lot of interesting bootstrap paradoxes around River. Like the end with her screwdriver, he would only be able to know to save her in this way because he saw himself do it before. Learning to snap his fingers to open the TARDIS from River's monologue about his future self. I think the Doctor and River's relationship is its own bootstrap paradox in a way. Each of them do and know things integral to their relationship because of the other parts of them, the things they saw out of order. But none of this would click without Alex Kingston's amazing performance. She sells you on what could be a kitschy, hollow stereotype of a character by being effortlessly charming until she breaks your heart with a single look or a few words. I'm such a sucker for unrequited love, and in sci-fi fantasy, specifically, love that has to transcend physical bounds, through time, through realities. But that's also a trope that can be easily overused or overdone, like Stephen Moffat's inspiration for River, the time traveler's wife. I love the tragedy that in order for River to have lived the life she wanted to live, spent the time she had with and loved the Doctor, she has to die now to make that happen. And of course, every time the Doctor sees her again, no matter how much they do and how much he loves her, he knows this is where she's headed, and he had to let it happen too. I mean, imagine how she feels in those moments, learning he always knew. It's just another one of the many moments in this that's truly bittersweet. Also, can we appreciate that right hook? If we'd never seen River again, this would have been a great part of an amazing story. We already know her so well by the time she dies. But, just like for the Doctor, this is only the start of seeing River's adventures. River has basically always been my favorite companion, if we can even call her that. I dressed up as her for Halloween, and used a River diary facsimile I was gifted when I was little, and finally got to meet Alex Kingston last year. But it is like really weird and depressing that River ends up in the simulation, Loki. Like, what the fuck is she gonna do in normal life, or like fake normal life? Oh good, your like random ass team you barely knew is here to fucking hang out with you while you take care of fake kids? Like, wasn't prison a more exciting time for her? River would be a horrible mother. But it is really interesting to think about the horror of the ending, and the horror of Cal's existence, despite the fact that they frame it positively. And that's another reason why I come back to it over and over. It's grown and changed with me, with the plot of the show, and it's open to different readings every time. As a young and imaginative kid who was starting to have that power used against him in his own head, I think I really took to this idea of Cal's intricate safe space, and the idea of someone or something invading the safe space in your head. You really feel for Cal. She's a good little actress and conveys well how horrifying what's happening to her is, especially when she doesn't have the capacity to understand why it's happening. The scene where Dr. Moon tells Cal the truth is still one of the most insane scenes ever. Like, you already know deep down,
The real world is a lie, and your nightmares are real.
Because of the audience's previous connection to the Doctor and Donna, but hearing him say it to her, an already distressed child, locks in the feelings of existential horror. I empathized really deeply with Cal when I was younger, and the thought that my home, my dad, my reality wasn't real would be indescribable. But like I discussed in the rest of the video, I had already faced some periods of dissociation where I was asking those same questions to myself, feeling like I was living on bought time, that there was something deeply wrong under the surface and it would take it all away. But what really caused that were those fears themselves, and now I know when I get those feelings, it's just my brain processing things differently, not a fundamental problem with the universe. One of the most interesting things about the unreality of the library and the world inside it is how heavily it relates to dreams and the dream world, which functions in a couple of different ways.
I got your note last night. No, you didn't. You got it a few seconds ago. Having decided to come, you suddenly found yourself arriving.
That's true of being dissociated. I remember a few years ago being so consistently dissociated that I'd just go on autopilot for large chunks of my day, and end up coming back into my body not fully remembering what I did, having to talk myself through it just like Donna does. But when we get the amazing reveal at the playground scene, it brings up something else. You know Donna feels deep and real love for her children, and it's unimaginably disturbing to think about feeling a true mother's bond with something that's a lie. Feeling as if you've loved and cared for them for so long, which is a lie too. The craziest thing is, this is something people experience in real life. Having such incredibly vivid dreams, it feels like waking up to a new reality. Like the internet just loves that lamp-turning funny post. And while my brain is a bit too addled to dream vividly anymore, I used to have crazy long dreams that felt like vacations when I woke up. But it's really interesting that while so many of these things are relatable allegorically, confusion and upset over long, vivid dreams is totally real. Also, the effects just really hold up where a lot of Doctor Who looks so dated. This episode in particular has always stuck with me as a Doctor Who fan. My friends and I made a parody of it in middle school. I'm gonna get River's Diary and Sonic tatted one day. And I've owned a River Sonic for about 12 years and have carried it so fucking many places. It's so stupidly important to me. These works brought out an empathy in me I couldn't understand at the time, and taught me about the merits of story I didn't know before, while giving me new, weird feelings that I search for in basically everything I watch, read, or play. Each story has a character who thinks their reality is real, but it's not. They all have different iterations of selves that exist in different realities, and they all utilize a space outside of time where they learn the truth or process those realities coming together. They teach you not to trust everything you read or see, and to like it that way. And I used to fully see myself in these worlds these characters inhabit. But the older I've gotten, the more I've learned to cope. While I still have a lot of problems, they aren't surrounding dissociation, derealization, or delusions that the world isn't real anymore. And if I hadn't had this media to identify with, it might have been harder to get out. These works helped me solidify what I look for in a good mind-bending story, and helped me broaden my emotional vocabulary. So much so that these can be stories I love to hear told and love to tell, not stories I have to live. Thank you so much for watching this video. And seriously, y'all, before you leave, I literally cannot stress enough how awful the I Am the Cheese movie is and how good the actual book is. So don't be swayed by the stupid images you saw on screen. Our Doctor Who sketch was better than this. The movie does not do the book justice, because the book works so well because you're in Adam's head. I always think it would work best as a play. Anyways, I'm really interested to hear your comments as always, but particularly, what reality-bending media was formative to you? Why do you think it affected you so much? Let me know. Since I got over 2,000 subs, I've really been trying to make YouTube a priority, so I have a real consistent string of projects going right now for the first time in a while. But I would always love suggestions, so leave those in the comments too. If you like this, make sure you like and subscribe. Perhaps throw that bell on to get a notification every time I post, and I'll see you next time.